about strings concept in detail. I hope you all are familiar with one-dimensional array. So what do you mean by a one-dimensional array? One-dimensional array is nothing but, can any one of you define me what is a one-dimensional array? So you all know array is nothing but normal variable. If you take normal variable will be capable of storing one variable, one value only with one variable name. But if you want to have a flexibility of storing more than one value with the same variable name, then we can go with an array, where array is defined as a collection of homogeneous data type elements. That means with same variable name, let us consider A is your array name, then A can hold, depending upon your size, whatever you have defined. Let us consider you have defined like A as holding of 10 values, then you can store 10 values. But remember, with array, you can store only all the 10 values of similar data type. Like all can be of integer type, all can be of float type, all can be of character type, all can be of double data type, like that. But remember, in array, all values should be of same data type, and we have a flexibility of holding more than one value with single variable name. In detail, we learn how to declare an array, how to initialize the values to an array at compile time and at run time. All these things we already learned, right? In today's class, we'll see about strings. Strings is one of the application of your array. Now, what actually a string is nothing but, if you are storing all the values of character data type, then that array is referred as a string. I'm repeating once again. Array is nothing but with the homogeneous data type elements, collection of homogeneous data type elements. Now, if all the values, if you whatever you are storing in an array are of character data type, then that array, whatever you are referring, is referred as a string. So you can define a string is a sequence of characters like this. A string is a sequence of characters. And one more thing you need to understand here is, in array, if you are storing all integer values and all float values, all double values, no need of termination character. But whereas coming to the strings, where if you are storing all values of characters, you need to have a termination character which is called as a /0. By default, it will be added by the compiler. It is not our responsibility to add /0. It will be added by default by the compiler itself. So whatever characters you want to store in your array, that can be stored, and in the end, /0 will be added by the compiler itself. Now /0 indicates it is the end of that string. So it is called as a terminated character. It is called as a terminated character of your string. Like, for example, suppose I'll tell you how to declare and how to initialize all those things. For the time being, you understand you are storing a string called C space string. Understand, all of you, space is also considered. So you are trying to store C space string in a character array called a C. Your array name is C. Got it, all of you? And whenever you are giving any string, you need to put that one in the double quotes, because it is collection of more than one character. So you need to put in the double quotes. If you are storing only a single character, then you need to put it in the single quote. I'll repeat once again. If you are storing more than one characters, and that is nothing but, more than one character is nothing but, it will be obviously an array. So you need to put it in the double quotes. But if you are storing only a single character, then it should be stored in a single quote. In such a case, array is not required. Why? Because you are storing a single value. Got it? Now here in this example, you can see C space string. If you are storing like this, then what happens is the compiler will store these sequence of characters like C underscore string in the memory, and in the end it appends the /0. So how it will be done? You can see here. C, I'll show here. C space will be stored. Remember, this is your memory. Let us consider. Then C space is also stored in one memory location, and then string, and in the end /0 is appended. It will be done automatically by the compiler itself. Got it? So this is how the data, whatever you are storing in a character array, which is called as a string. String is nothing but character array. Remember, all of you. So whatever data you are storing in the character array, that will be stored in the memory location, and in the end /0 will be appended automatically. That means it will be added at the end by default. We are not writing any /0 here. Observe carefully, all of you. Now let us learn in detail how to declare an array and how to assign values to an array. I hope you all are clear with this memory allocation of the string and what is this /0. So whenever you see /0 is nothing but end of your string. /0 is nothing but end of the string, and whenever you will be working with the string manipulations like string functions and all, at that time you can understand like this is the end of your string. Okay, like a simple application I'll tell you. If you want to combine two strings, or if you want to perform some operations, like you want to find out the length of the string, then you can check up to /0. You can repeat the loop up to /0 and you can find out the length of the string. So always /0 represents the end of your string. So whatever manipulations you do. Got it, all of you? I hope you all are clear. /0 represents the end of your string. So individual, if you want to perform some operations on a single character or in the string, then if you want to check the end of your string, where you have reached, you don't know. In such a case, you can have your loop repeated up to your /0. So it goes on incrementing, and whatever character, whenever it reaches to /0, by default, you can understand like, yeah, it is the end of your string. So that is the use of your adding the null character by default to your end of your string. Right? Now let us see how to declare a character array and how to initialize the values. I think you all understand like what do you mean by declaration. Declaration is nothing but telling the data type and telling the, what do you mean by the name whatever you want to give. So the syntax for declaring a string is you need to use a data type called char, and then you need to write down the array name, and within the brackets you need to specify the size. This is how you need to declare your string. Listen carefully, all of you. There is no data type called string. String data type is available in Java. There is no data type called string in C. We have only data types called int, float, char, double data types in our C programming language. Using that only we are using them according to our requirement. Now, of all these four, if you want to create a string, that means array of characters, we will be using a character data type, and we are using an array name, and we are specifying that some size. Whenever you are specifying a size, that means you are maintaining one array. That means you want to store more than one value, and those values are of character data type. That means this array, whatever name you are writing, that will be converted as a string now. Don't use string data type in your program whenever you are writing a C programming language. Now, for one example for this one, you can see, I want to create a character array name called C. Any name can be given following the rules of your identifier. And I have given C, and in this C, I want to store 10 values, and all the 10 values should be of character data type. That means I can now refer C as my string, or you can refer C as a character array also, right? But now whenever you are mentioning the size here, be careful. One point here, that is, here we need to declare a string of 10 characters, but you should be capable of storing only 9 characters only. Why? Because the last location, whatever we have, will be stored with /0. Even if you try to store 10 values also, you will not be getting any error, but make sure like whenever you are declaring any character array, you add one more location to that one. Suppose if you want to store 10 character arrays, give the size as 11, so that the last location will be given to /0 storage. So always specify the size as per your requirement, plus 1 also you give. That is what I want to tell here. Got it, all of you? So here I have told 10 means I will be storing 10 characters and the last location is given for /0. So this is how declaration can be done. You need to use the data type called char and you need to specify the array name and you need to specify the size. I hope you all are clear with this declaration of your string, right? Now once declaration is done, we can go with the initialization. What do you mean by initialization? We already declared some values. We already declared the data type, that is character, and we have told what is the array name, that means string name, and how many characters we want to store also we have already told in the declaration part. Now coming to the initialization, in initialization, we will be telling what are all the values you want to store into that character array, right? And that initialization can be done in number of ways. We'll see all those ways now. Okay. The first way is like this. Like we are saying, like we are storing at the time of declaration only, we are combining the value whatever you want to store. Why? Because declaration and initialization can't be divided whenever you are talking about your strings concept. I'll tell you about that later, but here you all of you follow about what is this first way of initializing the value. Here, observe here, I told my data type is char and C and I specified it as an array, and observe here I have not mentioned any size, and using assignment operator uh, uh, I will be assigning a string called ABCD, or that this is a string which is holding more than one character. That's why I put it in the double quotes. So now what happens? A, B, C, D will be stored in the memory and the last location will be stored with /0. So how many values you give here, how many characters you give here, that many number of memory locations plus 1 will be automatically created if you are not mentioning any size here. So this is the first type of way initializing the string, where you have combined the declaration and initialization and you have not mentioned the size. Even if you don't mention the size also, it is okay. Depending upon the number of characters, that many number of memory locations will be allocated, and plus 1 also be allocated to store /0. The second way is mentioning the size. If you mention the size here, this is also acceptable. Then here what happens is 10 memory locations will be allocated, and of all those 10 memory locations, first 4 memory locations will be allocated to A, B, C, D, and fifth memory location will be allocated to /0, and the remaining 5 memory locations will be free, empty. So here, according to the data, whatever you give, that exactly that much memory will be allocated in the first type, whereas in the second type, it will give some extra memory location also, because you have forcibly mentioned like I want to allocate 10. That means 10 memory locations will be allocated and A, B, C, D will be stored in the first 4 and fifth location will be /0. So according to your requirement, whatever you want, you can use. You can mention the size or you don't, it is up to you. Now, if you don't mention the size also, it is okay. Now, in these two cases, if you see directly a string is given, that's why I kept in the double quotes. You have a third option also where individual character can also be mentioned like this. Observe here. I am telling in detail to the compiler like that. First memory location is A. So A is a single character. That's why I'm mentioning in the single quote. And then would be, if you observe here, this is nothing but one-dimensional array values you will be giving like this. If all the integer data types, if you are telling, then all the values will be separated by a comma. Do you remember that one? So similarly here also, individual value you are mentioning, instead of putting that one in the double quotes, single character wise you can put, and individual, this is a character, that's why we need to put it in the single quote. And A, B, C, D values you have done, and it is your responsibility to tell the last value as a /0 if you are mentioning as a character, individual characters like this. But if you are mentioning a string directly, no need to put the /0. Observe the difference. If you are mentioning individual characters, then it is your responsibility to tell that the last character is the /0. But if you are mentioning the string directly like this, no need to tell to the compiler. It will understand and it will put it the last in the last /0. And whenever you are mentioning like this, you need to put the flower braces like this, the same way you have declared your integer array. Got it? So here I have not mentioned the size. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 memory locations will be allocated. We have the other way also, where we can follow the same approach where we can mention the size also. If you are mentioning the size, 5 more memory locations will be created and they will be empty. In future, if you want, you can add some more values to that also. Got it, all of you? So these are all the four ways we can initialize values to the string. First two ways, we are telling like string directly. Last two ways, we are storing individual characters, and in this two, it is our responsibility to tell /0. Right? So how the memory will be allocated? The memory will be allocated like this. So C of 0 will be holding A, C of 1 will be holding B, C of 2 will be holding C, C of 3 will be holding D, and C of 4 will be holding /0. This is nothing but individual character indexing. C of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you write 10, 5 more memory locations will be allocated. That's it. Got it, all of you? So this is how initialization of a string can be done. But whenever you are initializing a string, if you observe in all the four cases, we have combined the declaration and initialization. Why? Because if you see here, you can't assign, you can't do initialization and declaration in two different steps. What do you mean by that is, see here, I have declared a character array which will be capable of holding 100 values. So this is one statement, C declaration, and in the next statement, I'm writing C equal to C programming like this. This is not at all acceptable. Why? Because assignment operator is not supported once declaration is done. Are you following? These two can be combined into one statement where you can write CHAR, C of 100 equal to, within the double quotes, you can write C programming. But you can't divide this one into two statements. Why? Because strings do not support assignment operator. Strings, whatever you are creating character array, will not support assignment operator once the declaration is finished. If you end the declaration here, from here onwards, you can't use the assignment operator with this character array. But if you want to store the array value here, then don't close here, use the assignment operator here equal to, write C program and then close that declaration. So once you need to keep this one in your mind. So once the declaration is done, you can't use the assignment operator whenever you are working with the strings in the C programming language. Got it, all of you? I hope you all are clear with this declaration concept and initialization concept with the strings. You need to be more careful whenever you are storing the individual character or whenever you are storing a complete string at once. And this one you need to keep in your mind. Right? Now, this is about initialization in the program itself. That means in the computer itself, in the computer program, whenever you are typing, there itself in the program, you are storing the values. But we have a flexibility of giving the values at the time of running your program. This is called as whatever we have learned in the previous slide. I'll show you whatever we have learned in the previous slide, not this one, I think. This one. These are all referred as compile time initialization. That means in the program itself, you are telling what is the value. If you want to have a flexibility of storing the values at runtime, that means while you are executing your program, you want to store that value. Then that can also be done. But before that, let us see about how to print the values, how to print the string. That means how to write the string. So we have three ways. Let us consider you have declared a character array like this and you have stored the value also. Let us consider. So then you can use printf statement, where you can use printf statement in combination with the for. Why? Because you are using a character array. You can use for loop because the size is 10, I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, and you can write a printf statement because individual character you are displaying. So the format specifier will be %C. I think you all are clear with this. Why? Because for displaying one-dimensional array, do you remember when we work with matrices or when we work with single-dimensional array, we have used a for loop, and up to the size you have repeated this loop, and we have printed the individual element. Same way we can do with the character array also. This is the first way, the normal way. And the second way is using printf statement alone only. Observe here, we are using a new format specifier is percentage s, and whenever you are using percentage s, no need to use the for loop. I'm repeating once again. If you are using percentage C, that means individual character you want to print. That's why we need to repeat this loop for number of characters you have in that character array. But if you are using the second type of percentage S as a format specifier, then no need to use the for loop. Directly you can write printf percentage S A, then whatever string, that means if you have stored 10 characters in this, then all the 10 characters will be printed because we have used the format specifier called percentage yes. And we have one more way, which is called as puts. We can also use this puts. Instead of printf, we can write puts, and within the brackets you can write a. This is equal to your printf statement where the complete string, that means all the characters in the a will be displayed. So these three ways can be used to write your output on your output screen. One way is combination of printf and for loop, where you need to use the percentage C. The other way is printer, where you need to use percentages, and the third way is using puts. Okay, so these are the three ways for writing the string. And now I'll tell you what are all the ways we have to read the string. That means at the time of executing your program, how can you read the character? How can you read the string from the user? Normally, I think whenever you want to do this task, we'll be using the scanf statement. Do you remember that one? Whenever you want to read any value from the user at runtime, we will be using the scanf statement. The same way, in the same way also, here also for reading the string, we have a first option of using scanf statement and for loop to read the string. And the second option is only scanf statement can be used. And the third option is getters. Now, how these three can be used, we'll learn in detail. Okay, so the first one is using scanf and for loop. So using scanf and for loop is nothing but the normal way you are reading the integer values, how you are reading for loop you are writing up to that number of integer values, and you will be repeating the scanf statement. Here also we'll be following the same thing. Observe the thing here. I have declared one string, I have declared one character array with data type char, and S is capable of holding 10 values. Now I want to read the values into this. Yes, I have not initialized any value here. I want to store the value at the time of executing my program. So that's why I have used the scanf statement, and I have repeated this scanf statement 10 times, where at each iteration individual character will be asked from the user, and you will be giving that value and you will be storing that value. Understood all of you? Is this clear? This is equal. This is similar like the way you are reading your integer values, right? Int a of 10 if you are writing, and then you need to write percentage d ampersand a of 5. Now, as similar to that one only, here also we'll be reading the character array. But what is the problem here is, you can observe. So we are using this one. If you see here, this one program I have written, I asked the student to enter the subject name, and the student will be writing the subject name. First, let us consider the subject name is computer programming. Then what happens? The student will first type C and then O and then P, like this he will be giving, and one space is also given, and programming. So the student has given this input. So what happens once this input is given, and whenever he tried to print this one, see here I have used percentages. I have not used the for loop to print this one. I have used percentages because we already learned if you are using percentages, no need to write the for loop. So directly I have stored in the name. Now whenever you are trying to print this one, the complete computer programming will be displayed. So individual character including the space will also be stored in this one. And remember, whenever you are giving the values, that much capacity should be given here. So by default /0 will be added. Good, all of you? I hope you all are clear with this first way. It is similar to the way you are reading the integer values. Right? Now coming to the second way, in the second way, we will be using only scanf. We are not using the for loop. So observe here, I have declared one character array, and directly I am writing percentage yes and s Observe here, I am not writing any ampersand here. That is one more point you need to make a note. Remember, I'll show you the previous slide. Whenever you are reading any scanf statement, normally if it is an integer or float or a character or a double value, you will be writing the ampersand here. But whenever you are writing a format specifier of percentage yes in the scanf statement, we should not write the ampersand symbol here. That you need to make a note of that one. Okay, now let us see here. Now, what is the difference between the earlier scanf for and only scanf is it will take the values up to the white spaces only. What do you mean by white spaces? White spaces include space bar, white space includes new line or tab. I'll show you one example. It will be more clear to you all. See, I'm asking the user to enter one name and I'm storing that one in the name. I'm using the format specifier percentage. Yes, that's why I'm not put any ampersand symbol here. Directly you can write name. Now, while executing this program, it will be asking the user to enter one name. So I am giving the name like computer space programming. But whenever you are trying to display the value in the name, whatever you have given, you will be getting only computer. Why? Because if you are using your percentage yes as a format specifier, it will accept the value up to the white spaces only. Whatever you give after the white spaces will not be stored. White spaces include your normal space bar, or if you new line or a tab, like that, whatever you give. So all those whatever you give after white space will not be stored in your variable whatever you are giving here. So I hope you all are understanding here. So subject is percentage yes. So whatever name you have given, whatever data you stored in the name, that will be copied into percentage yes. So what happened? Computer only will be stored. Why? Because here you gave space. So from this space, whatever you give, that will not be stored whenever you are giving the percentage yes as your format specifier. So here you need to understand 2 points. Whenever you are using percentage yes, no ampersand symbol, and up to the white spaces only, it will be accepting the value. Okay, so we have the third way also. The third way is very simple, which is called as getAs. Directly you can write getAs, but with getAs, it will accept your spaces also. Now, like your scanf and scanf plus for if you have used the way you have done there. Similarly, here also, if you are using getAs, then using getAs, spaces will also be considered. So I'll be asking the user to enter the subject name that will be stored in the name. Here there should be a semicolon. I missed that semicolon, and then subject name is name. So what you will be getting, complete computer programming including space is also displayed. So that's why getAs includes spaces also, right? Only the thing you need to understand here is we have 3 ways: scanf plus for, and only scanf and getAs. If you are using only scanf, percentage s should be used, and then up to white spaces only it will be asked. So these are all the 3 ways to read the values from the values for the string from the user. I hope you all are clear with these 3 concepts, like what actually a string is and how the values will be stored in the string, like /0 concept, and what are all the ways to initialize the string, and how to display the string value onto the output screen. I told you 3 ways we have, and also we learned what are all the 3 ways we have to read the value to the string at the time of executing your program. So you can make use of all these concepts. You can go through this video once again if you have any doubts. Yeah, right? So in the next class, we'll be learning about the user-defined functions, like not user-defined functions, the predefined functions under this string handling concept. Okay? Is this clear, all of you? So with this, we'll come to an end of our today's class.